So we're making a Kydex holster for this PS9 with an O-light. And what I like to do first is to make sure that the gun is unloaded. That's just, common sense and stuff. But then I like to take my Kydex, make sure it's the right size, and then I fold it in half. I just take a heat gun and heat across the middle here, and then when it gets pliable, I fold it edge to edge, make sure everything's lined up, and then I'll set it on a block of wood and then drill through it and put a Chicago screw through it to hold it together. I put it in the corner here. It's going to get cut away when I do the final trim on this, but once you get things heated up and going, it just kind of acts like an extra hand to hold things where they need to be while you're trying to make the mold. Speaking of the mold, I've learned the hard way that it's just easier to block out any extra detail that you're going to run into issues with holstering or drawing the weapon once the mold is made. For instance, the slide cutout here, if Kydex goes into that as you're molding it, when you go to put the weapon into the holster, it's probably going to take that slide out of battery, which is no bueno. So I just go ahead and put a piece of foam in there and tape it up. I also take this time to block out for any screws that are going to be in there for clips and things. And then on the back side, if there's anything that's going to be in the way, just like that, your mag release, the slide release, anything like that that might cause an issue with the overall use of the holster, I tape that up and try to make it contoured just nice and smooth. I typically do a foam press for these, but I thought it'd be cool to just use my vacuum sealer. So I've got this heated up. I do this in the oven, and then I slide the gun into where I want it, and then just put the vacuum bag into the sealer and then hit start. Make sure that you're doing this fast, because the faster that it sucks the air out, the more detail you'll get, because if it cools off while you're doing this, the Kydex isn't as pliable. That's just like physics and stuff. But at any rate, just try and suck the air out as fast as you can. And then you can grab like a little piece of foam if you want some extra detail and rub over areas and make sure that they're going where you want them to go. One benefit I've found of vacuum sealing like this is the back side is relatively flat. All of your definition comes in on the front side. So for inside the waistband holsters, that works out great. It's just more comfortable to not have all that detail in your body. As you can see here, it didn't exactly mold like I wanted it to. The great thing about Kydex is it's reworkable, so you can just reheat it and then take the mold again until you get it like you like it. I kind of did this mold upside down than what I normally would, but the guy didn't want a sweat guard, so there was no reason to have any material kind of behind the trigger guard at all, so I just put it in upside down. This is a convertible holster. The guy wanted it inside or outside, so I'm trying to make as many holes line up as I possibly can so that when you swap, there's not just holes everywhere, and obviously there needs to be retention screws too. But I just mark those, line them up as best I can, and then just start screwing through these. This is a two-piece design holster here, but since I've only used one piece that I've folded in half, everything stays in place while I'm making these holes in there. And that's just super convenient that, nothing moves and you don't get anything misaligned while you're drilling through two pieces of Kydex. And once all my holes are drilled, I just pop a few screws in these and then head out to the saw. I'm not sure how many safety violations I'm about to break, but at any rate, I use a miter saw to do most of my cutting here. Just make sure that you've got the blade turned around backwards, or it could grab the Kydex and yank it out of your hand. I think it was Michelangelo that said something like, I saw the angel in the marble and I just set it free, so I'm just kind of going to town here, and everything that's not the holster, I just cut away. Cowabunga, dude. And this part is probably the least safe, but all of those edges that I don't want to just be corners and I kind of want to round off, I bring the saw blade all the way down, and then I just kind of roll the Kydex against it until it's round. I know that that's not the right way to do it, and I should use like a belt sander or something, but here we are on my sidewalk with my miter saw, and I'm making a holster. And once again, because there's no sweat guard, I can basically just clean up every edge, just front and back exactly the same. I don't have to have any extra material one way or the other. If there was a sweat guard, I'd have to do a little bit more work with a Dremel or something to get part of it cut that needed to go away on the front side while leaving the sweat guard intact. I also like to flare my edges, and when I'm doing this, I will clamp down everything that I don't want to move in a foam clamp, and then just heat up the area and then just kind of lift it with this little piece of block that I've got angled that'll go in there. And then once it cools down, it's just the shape that you want it to be. And once I get everything just like I like it, I'm going to take it back outside and just knock down some of these edges. I start with a palm sander and just go all the way around everything and knock down all the big stuff, all the burrs that the saw may have left or whatever. And then once I do that, I move over to my Dremel, and then I just have a buffing wheel on it. go around everything, make it nice and shiny, and clean everything up. I don't have my Dremel turned all the way up. I have it actually pretty low, and that's because if you get going too aggressive here, you can take material out, and that basically defeats the purpose of polishing this material. I think it goes up to 6, and I usually don't go past 2 on the speed settings. But again, I just go all the way around the edge and knock off any marks that I can see and get it nice and shiny. What I use for spacers on the outside of the screws is a 1/8 inch boost line, and then on the inside I use a 1/4 inch fuel line. So I basically just kind of can customize whatever length I need that to be to take up the space either outside or inside. That helps a lot with retention. If you need more, you can just have a bigger spacer on the outside. If you need less, you can put a bigger spacer on the inside. It's just kind of common sense stuff there, but instead of buying spacers that are just random sizes, I can customize it by buying a couple of feet of line and then just using that. And pretty much just put in my clips and my belt attachments here and tighten everything up and see how things go. But this thing came out pretty awesome. I wasn't super impressed with how much definition I could get out of it, but because that O-light was so much thicker than the trigger guard, I had to lose a lot of definition in that area. But it still indexes really nice, and the retention is top notch. Just take a listen to this.